Welcome to Investors Hangout, brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. Today's topic, how you can teach your children the basics of money management. To answer the questions that you have today and also to discuss this particular topic, we have with us, as usual, Dhirendra Kumar. Dhiren, we welcome you to Investors Hangout, and of course, you know, Dhirendra is the CEO of Value Research. Dhiren, we have summer vacation on these days, and a lot of parents put their children to, hobbies, into some skill development. Why can't they have a skill development when it comes to finances, financial skill development for the children?
I think the first step should be that, at least informing kids about how to use money, what role it plays, how can you derive happiness, the role of money and happiness, the connection bit. It is not necessarily, because I have seen my very young kids growing up, till they really understood the worth of things. It was not necessarily expensive toys which gave them joy. It could be just anything. So so money has a role. Money has a very important role, but not necessarily the kind of role that we attach with that. Spending money itself will derive, get you happiness. That I think is the first lesson. The other is that we create a lot of there is a lot of secrecy around money. Normally, I grew up in a family where I didn't know whether we were rich or poor. And basically, it was the environment. It was the way we were growing up, or the social structure that parents did not tell about kids. And I think this is something you can do without learning a lot of things, but you can't do without learning about money, the role it plays, the way to save, how it grows, how it works, and why investing is important, and the phase of life, equity, debt, what role it plays. So those could be more sophisticated concepts. But I think to begin with, even telling children about the very basic stuff that if you spend money on things you don't need, then you will not have money for things which you actually need. So that itself can be, and what role money plays in your future.
You touched upon a very interesting aspect, that when it comes to our kids, we want to shield them. We don't want them to be anxious about money matters. But how true is it? At what age should we, or how do we get the kids involved in the financial matters? What age is a good age for them to be taught about the financial management?
The moment they start understanding that, and it could be early nowadays, because kids are growing up faster with given the given the scale of information available all around us. Not only that, kids are very perceptive. So it is just imparting the basic values about money, that don't be wasteful, and so you will have all the resources for anything important, and working within a budget. You may be in a household which may not have enough. So how to prioritize things? Prioritizing things itself can actually, because today you can actually have a cell phone, a smartphone, for anywhere ranging between 5,000 to 50,000, or maybe much more. And if a kid thinks that he's being taken care of well only if he gets the most expensive one, that may be a wrong thing. That itself, somewhere imbibing the value in terms of the benefit that you derive, relating to it. So basic stuff, and the cost, how it matters, what it can translate into if it is not spent. This basic information, and keeping transparency, and imbibing the value that value for money. This particular concept that there is enough resources for anything that you need, but just be thoughtful. Let us not be impulsive. You can be impulsive about some small consumption, whatever, on a holiday. I'm not saying that be extremely cautious about any spending, but generally speaking, just giving and I think one thing which even at 4 or 5 years old, for a 4 or 5 year old kid, giving 500 rupee and asking him to keep accounts, work on a budget, entrusting him, and trusting him with that money, and giving him responsibility of keeping account of keeping track of his spending, reviewing it himself. a self-review, and accordingly changing plans. So a child will be able to understand thoughtfully that what is important, what is not, what could have been avoided, and why he can actually have more resources for something else which he really likes. So giving the basic inputs in terms of what is important, what is not, and self-appreciation, provoking a child into self-appreciation of the spending that he's doing. That itself will be a significant thing.
So finances should not be a taboo at all.
Absolutely.
And how do we explain the flow of money to them?
You don't need to explain it. It's obvious that we earn, we save, or if we don't earn, then we are eating into our savings, and it'll finish in some time, or it'll come to an end. You will be able to consume all your money in a finite time frame. So this much I think every child will be able to understand it. Keeping them informed about how to make your money grow, how to spend wisely, and how to put your surplus in a manner that you can optimally you can enhance return on that, and giving the very basic thought that saving is important. We will not be working at the same pace all our life, and there'll be a phase of life when the child will be dependent. There'll be a phase of life when the child will be earning, and there'll be a phase when he will have to depend on the money which was saved during his phase of earning. Will have to take care of in the phase when he will not work, and when he will not earn, and that is the phase when he has to prepare for those long period, and that period could be very long. And you will have absolutely no control on the circumstances. You will have to err on the side of caution. You will have to, and just having this basic thought that assuming that somebody is going to live for 100 years, 20 years he will be dependent on his parents, next 40 years he will work, and another 40 years he will have to live on those earnings which he, and if he has to prepare for that, how to do it? How to do it in a manner that he eliminates the risk of outliving his savings, being financially, and what money actually does. If you think in terms of the biggest thing which your savings, your attitude to savings and investment does is it gets you freedom. You may have enough, you may inherit which will be might be more than enough, but having more than enough actually gives you a choice. Otherwise you'll be forced to do things you may not like. But if you have this this margin of error, or if you have some savings, investments, then it gives you freedom. You can try out things and explore things, and do and focus on things only what you like. So money gets you freedom. Don't think in terms of money can get you the physical stuff, or you can buy this or you can buy that. Most of the time it crosses our mind that if you kaun banega crorepati, or if you have $1 million, we think in terms of the joy of $1 million, that how to spend it. It's not that. I think you need to look at it a little differently. It will get you freedom of choice, of doing things, and more importantly, not doing things which you don't like.
Yeah. So what you mentioned, all this to a grown-up sounds okay. Yeah, it has a lot of merit to the whole thing. But what about kids? How should we go about training them about money? I remember the good old days of having a piggy bank.
Good luck, yes.
Good luck, leke aao, so paise dalo. How should we go about, if you would like to elaborate on that?
For a very young kid, I think incentives work. So if you give a 100 rupee pocket money to a kid, and he's able to save 20 rupee out of it, he should still get that 100 rupee, and 20 rupee should be deposited in his over and above that 20 rupee, give him some incentive for saving that.
So that's a home banking.
Incentivize it, and he should own it, he should keep it, he should be incentivized for saving. If he's able to do that, then he can act, and that could be targeted to a big spending which the child might have, and he can accelerate it. Set up a target that you will get this thing, or your PS3 or something, accordingly provide a budget, and his savings can actually accelerate the whole actualization of that goal. That will be a good enough training. Piggy bank, a budget, ability to save, and if he is able to save, incentivize that saving. That will turn out to be.
How do you explain to him the benefits of compounding?
that he will learn over a period. This itself, because giving this
It's a
incentive
step
system,
one
that
towards,
in fact he will understand compounding very well quickly with this incentive system, because if you save 20 rupee and you get another 20 rupee, it doubles. And so next month he will try to save actually 50 rupee to accelerate his saving for his own goal. So he will understand compounding much faster. And then at an appropriate age, opening a bank account, explaining basic stuff, and he will understand it. It is part of our class 8th curriculum in arithmetic. This is something which should be done in a little more elaborate way as part of our while we are still in school. It could well be a part of our arithmetic and a more elaborate subject of personal finance.
Perhaps parents would have to consciously role play into teaching them about perils of borrowing or compounding or bank. Sort of.
A child just needs 2-3 things. He should fall in habit of saving. So he should always be in a state where he has little more than enough. Otherwise, as I was growing up, we were just we were done by 25th of every month, and last 5 days of a month was waiting for the remittance from home while I was staying alone. So of course those were days which were very different. You really lived in on a very tight budget, but so trying to live within your means and having little more than enough, having that emergency fund of 200 rupee, 500 rupee, depending on your, so that's one state. That itself is good enough. Then the second stage is the moment you have credit card, you think that you have just got a lottery, and that is the understanding what it is and what it is not. Credit card is not meant for credit; it is meant for convenience. Okay. And it should be the credit of available from a credit card should be used in extreme emergency, for your friend in hospital if you don't have a choice. Otherwise, it's the most expensive credit. You can never earn the kind of money that you pay on your credit card outstanding. That's a horrible thing. So every kid should be allowed to get into that credit, and one should help him and encourage him to get out of it, because unless you understand, that is basically a reverse of compounding. That if you are ever out of budget, and if you borrow money at a very expensive rate of interest, then you can never get out of that, get out of that debt trap. You create a debt trap, and that can actually take you back by many years. So understanding this basic thing, that what is meant for different things, how to use credit card, how to use bank account, why you should invest, where to put your emergency fund. But the starting point is living within your means and having the saving, because if you don't have the saving, nothing else happens.
So make sure, as Benjamin Franklin said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So make sure you start teaching your kids about how to go about investing, how to go about saving. As Dhiren said, home banking is what you need to start with. We now move on to the Q&A part of our program. Kamal Noori's is the first question that we are taking, and this is related to value funds and multi-cap funds. Are they the same? They're asking. She's asking, are they suitable to invest for a duration of 5 to 7 years?
Sometimes they could be similar, but they are not same. Value funds are funds which are trying to spot companies which are out of favor, which are available at a discount to their intrinsic worth. A company is far more valuable, and the fund manager thinks, not necessarily true. He may not be right always. He thinks that this company is worth much more, and today it is available at a substantial discount to its real worth. It is in that hope, so all value funds are configured like that. And that generally turns out to be a set of companies in a portfolio which are out of favor. Whereas a multi-cap fund is something straightforward. It could be growth, and broadly all companies can be divided into based on this character. They are either value stocks or growth stocks. Value stock is what I explained just now. They are out of favor. It might have larger worth, and it is available at a discount for a certain reason in the market today. Growth stocks are where investors are willing to pay a premium because the company is growing much faster. And because the company is growing much faster, it will make more money, and people are willing to pay a high price for achieving that higher growth. So multi-cap funds can be a combination of value as well as growth, and it'll necessarily be invested in all sizes of companies. It will be large cap, mid cap. So multi-cap is large, mid, small, all kind of companies. Perfect representation of the market in your portfolio. Value stocks, value funds could sometimes be large cap, sometimes be small cap. They are not designed to be multi-cap at all times.
Okay.
They are definitely stated to be in out of favor companies, or companies which are intrinsically of higher worth and available at a discount. For 5 to 7 years, use a combination of these two, multi-cap and value funds. They get you diversification. Value funds sometimes require greater patience. Of course, the downside in a value fund of the kind that we witness in India, we don't have pure value funds. We don't have managers or companies which are completely out of favor and something is available at a deep discount. Sometimes they are, but few. And most funds actually trying to do well consistently over time. They have actually followed a very lenient definition of value. So I would say that have a combination of both, but multi-cap should be your mainstay.
Okay. Aparna Mehra writes in, the new category, focus funds, have the same mandate as of multi-cap funds, except the ceiling on number of stocks. They seem attractive, but will they be high on risk because of a concentrated portfolio?
Yes, the risk comes in two forms. One is that what is the likelihood of a fund manager losing money in a certain stock. So I think that if a fund manager goes wrong, the possibility of significant loss in a focused fund is far higher, because in a focused fund, a position in a stock can well be in the region of 5 to 10% generally, and so focused fund, and the other is that focused funds can be far more volatile because you have fewer stocks. So on days nowadays we are seeing a volatile market. So the days on which the market goes down, you see the focused fund or concentrated funds falling much more than the market generally, or compared to other funds which are more diversified. I would say volatility is not as much of a risk on a 5 to 7 year basis, because volatility, the likelihood of losing money if you stay invested, it's not a risk, but the possibility of losing money in a focused fund if the fund manager goes wrong is reasonably high. So yes, focused funds do come with higher risk of volatility, as well as the penalty or the penalization for a fund manager if he goes wrong with his selection could be very high. And if a fund manager goes wrong with a couple of them, then it could be a disaster.
So should one stay away from that?
No, but I guess that today that is where the fund manager evaluation for a focused fund actually comes in very handy. And also, focused fund may not necessarily be very focused, because what I find is that mutual funds many a times nowadays, because they are turning very big, funds are becoming popular, they are getting more money, and as a fund does better, a well-performing funds get far more money. So in that situation, the fund actually tends to be far more diversified than needed, and it is many a time forced to be diversified. So in that sense, I think many of the focused fund, which says that it will be investing in 30 stocks. So it's been
called focused
on 30, but I think 30 also gets you reasonable diversification, and it's not necessarily very concentrated. It might turn out to be, and so go by two things. Focused fund, you should look at the experience of the fund manager, of what he has set out to do, and what are the quality filters. That apart, make sure that a fund which is, even if it is focused, it's not less than at least 20-25 stocks, which is reasonable diversification for an investor. If you are comfortable with the volatility, some of the focused funds look very promising.
Okay. Pragya Sood writes, and she wants your help, and she says that I want to invest 40 lakhs. Which would be better, index funds, ETFs, equity funds, or debt funds?
One crucial information missing is that what is the time frame, and that should be the starting point. If you are investing for 5 years and more, and if you are going to, and the fact that you are asking this question is that you are a first time investor, I would say that to invest 40 lakh rupees there are two things which you should never do. One is that don't invest all your money at one go, and don't invest in anything which is which has done very well in recent times. So 40 lakh rupee, to be to be spread over a period of time. And I think if 40, and depending on the importance of this money, if it has taken you many years to accumulate this 40 lakh rupees, maybe spread this money over the next 2 years, 24 months or 36 months. And looks like you are a first time investor, then you should invest this money in 1 or 2 balanced fund. So 40 lakh rupees divided by 24 divided by 2 should be your investment in one balanced fund. And if you are investing in 2 of them, by investing in balanced fund, you will be reasonably, in fact nowadays those balanced funds are no longer called balanced fund. Now their nomenclature has changed after this categorization system. So these are hybrid, aggressive hybrid funds. These funds generally have about 70-75% investment in equity, remaining in fixed income. They are actively managed. So don't consider index fund, don't consider ETF, don't consider debt if it is 5 years and more. If it is less, 3 to 5 years, consider the equity income funds. There also you should spread your investment at least over the next 12 months. If you need to spend this money in the next 1.5 to 2 years, then only consider debt fund. Okay. So to begin with, invest your money over the next 24 to 36 months in 1 or 2 balanced funds.
Okay, so balanced fund is what you are
recommending. Yeah, that will get her exposure to debt, equity, and it will provide the necessary stability for one to get started.
Okay. Next question is particularly important as it focuses on strategic planning, and Sudhakar writes, we're expecting a baby in September 2018. Where should we invest for his or her education and marriage?
Congratulations, but and it's
good planning.
Good planning. It doesn't hurt, but you have all the time, and so this is actually the kind of time frame, and you will understand. You will see the magic of compounding if you are regular at this, and this investment plan can be implemented at different level.
Okay.
Make sure that if you start a SIP, and make sure that you are increasing the amount of SIP at least every 1 or 2 years. This can, and to be done over the next 10-15 years. First time investor, get started with a balanced fund or a multi-cap fund. That is good enough. And you don't need to do a periodic review. Do a review every 2-3 years. That should be good enough. Be passive about it. Even if you are going to invest something like 10, 15, 20, 25,000 rupee pool from your grandparents, your savings for the child, everything on his or her birthday over the next 20 years, that is also a SIP. If you are going to do these investments, yearly SIP over the next 20 years, because the whole idea is to average it and let the money compound over a period of time. So make sure that you every birthday for next 20 years, if you are investing, even if you start with 10,000 rupees on the birth, and you put 12,000 rupee on first birthday, 20% more over a period of time, it will translate into something substantial. That way it will also be very simple. Or SIP in a multi-cap fund is good enough. You don't necessarily need a child plan or a retirement plan or something, or child's education plan. Any money which you have earmarked for a certain goal, and you are disciplined enough to hold it for that period, is a child plan. And I think a mutual fund turns out to be a far more efficient vehicle because it's transparent, it's less expensive, and it's changeable if an investment is not doing well, and you can evaluate the performance with great objectivity.
So invest and revisit it after 20 years?
No, every 2-3 years review your investment, but keep making this investment with that time frame in mind. And make sure that you can choose any fund. It need not have, many people have this idea that you need a child plan for investing for children. No, any mutual fund can be a child plan. You can also invest in the name of the child, with you being and you can invest that money and the child will become the owner of this investment on attaining majority.
Okay. Pratham Vishisht has written in saying, is it fine to invest in a tax saving fund with high AUM?
Yes, the very diversified equity, tax saving funds are fine even with high AUM. But there are tax saving funds which are reasonably focused, or they have derived most of their performance with small caps, mid caps. There I'm wary that as they turn big, they may not be as good as they have been. So the diversified tax saving funds, and many of them are, which has done very well, carry on with those. The ones which are focused, tax saving funds focused on small caps and mid caps, they may not be very they may not be good as they turn big.
Okay. Ruchi Paliwal writes in saying, I'm a senior citizen and my portfolio has 50% each of equity and debt. Do I need to rebalance?
Yes, it's great to have this real balanced portfolio, and if you are able to rebalance it annually, or sometimes if you should have two rules. One is that do an annual review and don't do a rebalancing. If the difference, if this 50 becomes 55 or 55 becomes 45, don't do that. Anything more than 5%, whether it be in a shorter time frame or annual review, rebalance it. This is the when you rebalance it, the advantage is that you are able to sell something which has not done well. You are able to put your money into something which has not done well, and you are able to take money off things which has done well. You are automatically booking profits and buying relatively cheap. Equity, if it has done well, and if you rebalance it, you'll be taking money from equity and putting in debt. So annual rebalancing, or putting a ceiling, putting a percentage in your own mind, or documenting it, and when it crosses that, rebalance.
Okay, Dr. Chintan has written in saying that I'm planning a huge investment for my clinic in 1 or 2 years. Where should I invest this money till then?
Don't take risk with this money. It's a very crucial thing, and it's getting into something which is productive, which will help you optimize or maximize your return on your time or your profession. So the only option that you have is 1 to 2 years, ultra short term debt fund or short term debt fund. The likelihood of money going down is very low. You will be able to earn little more return than what you earn in a deposit or the savings bank account. And if this goal is little negotiable, and if you want to really, if this could be 1 to 2 years, if it is not 1 to 2 years but 3 to 4 years, maybe you can have 5-10% into equity, or maybe a fund which is a MIP kind, which invests 5 to 10% into equity. It might generate little more return, but if you are definite about this plan of 1 to 2 years, only short-term debt fund and ultra short-term debt fund should be your vehicle.
Okay. Abhinav writes, how do we plan our long-term investments for 15 to 25 years between ULIPs and mutual funds?
They are not comparable. Consider mutual funds for your investments, and definitely before making those investments, you should not even consider ULIPs. You need term insurance. If you have financial dependence, get adequate term insurance. That is the way to get good insurance coverage for yourself for the right need with a very low premium. And you need to be very flexible about your insurance need, and our need for insurance actually changes dramatically. You get into a job and you have no financial dependence, you don't need an insurance. The moment you get married, and if your wife turns out to be a financially dependent person on you, you need a large insurance policy. And large insurance policy at a stage of your life when you may not be when you cannot pay more than a very high premium. So a term insurance gets you that. At a young age, you pay very low premium for a very large coverage. And term insurance, simply put, is something happens to you, your dependents or your nominee gets a large payout. Nothing happens, the money expires. You don't get anything in return. It's almost like the car insurance. Something happens to your car, you get the insurance coverage, but otherwise it expires. So a lot of times, people are not used to this idea that this money is going waste. No,
they expect something back.
You expect something back, and that is the trap. Think of insurance as buying protection for your family, and this is a professional service that you're getting. You are buying a protection for your family, and with a small premium. It is an expenditure. Then you have kids, it changes dramatically. And then as you accumulate your savings and your investments turn into something meaningful, you can let some of these term insurance expire. Stop paying for them, because you don't need the insurance after once you have your house and you have paid the EMIs. You can reduce your need for getting a financial cover for your family comes down. And for your investment, choose the appropriate investment. 2-3 kind of mutual fund can actually fulfill every investor's need. For your emergency money which you need, you want it to be on demand, consider the ultra short term bond fund or liquid fund. They get you a little more return than what you earn on your savings bank account or short term deposits. They are also tax efficient. Money is accessible very speedily. Then comes money for 2 to 5 years, any spending plan, and more than 5 years, consider the long term plans, long term vehicles, substantially equity. The other rule to follow is invest regularly, even if you have lump sum, even if you are you end up with some bonanza or some sizable money coming your way. Be gradual about it. Equity market is very risky if you don't follow these steps.
Okay. Thank you, Dhiren, for answering the questions of our viewers. Thank you so much for writing in. Continue to write in and continue to invest, as Dhiren says, regularly. Till we meet next time, it's bye from all of us.